Hey gang, welcome back to Tin Man Customs, and we're getting ready to start another custom figure. And this time I'm going to use the Powermaster Prime figure that came out in Titan's Return. And the reason I'm going to do this figure was I'm a huge fan of the Powermaster Prime toy in the original line, and I was really excited when they redid him for Titan's Return, in the hopes that they were going to do a God Bomber set that could attach to him. So when they did finally come out with a God Bomber set, and it only worked with the Takara version of this, I was a little bummed, but Hasbro ended up releasing the Takara version in the Siege on Cybertron set, which I picked up because I wanted all the other figures that came in the set, and went ahead and grabbed the Takara release of the God Bomber armor figure. And so that left me with Powermaster Prime still sitting here, essentially the same representation of the character. So I figured I would try and do a mod on this, and I wasn't sure who to do. I mean, I could have done a Nemesis Prime, but I'm not really big on the Nemesis Prime figures. I decided, after having to sell off my Botcon set of the Knights versus Pirates, so I figured since I was missing the Ginrai from the Knights versus Cybertron set, and he was originally an homage to the Fire Guts Ginrai, who was a repaint of the original Powermaster Prime figure, I would do this guy up in that color scheme. So that's my plan on this guy, is to turn him bright orange and red with a little bit of metallic, not really metallic gold, but I have a metallic copper that will probably play nicely and look like the original toy, which, as you can see, is what I am going to go for. Don't have this guy anymore. He was a very neat repaint of the figure, and I miss having him in the collection, so I'm going to do this kind of treatment on my Powermaster Prime figure. And any of the shiny gold on the metallic shininess there, that's what I'll be using the shiny metallic copper on. And I think it'll look correct once he's all done. So that's what I'm gonna go for. So we'll go ahead and get this guy taken apart and washed up and get some colors put on him. Alright gang, you can see where I'm at here. I'm not completely done with all the base coat coloring on this guy. I just wanted to mention a few things. Getting ready to do some detail work here shortly, but I need to get some of this nice metallic color on the front of the cab and on the smokestacks. So just masked off with some regular blue painter's tape, and this little wood stick I use, it's a cuticle, I believe it's a cuticle, whatever the torture device they use, and it's yeah, it was from a cheap nail cutting set, but I use it all the time on all the stickers. Since it's nice wood, it doesn't tear things up like a metal press wood, but helps go in and seal off any of the edges that you want. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have some overspray on this, but I've got an orange paint that I can go and clean up some of the edges. I'll probably put some tape to cover that hole. Same thing here. Going to do metal on this. Had some stuff masked off here for the white stripe on the trailer. Going to hand paint in the red on top of that because I don't really think I can get a good seal up against that edge. Should be easy enough to hand paint that on top of that. One issue I had with this guy here, when I went back to test the arms after getting this painted, this ball joint on this side completely sheared off. So I had to use a sewing pin as some metal to drive through the middle of it and then glue that back in place. The arm does still articulate, but I'm going to be super careful with that, and as you can see, it does not line up at exactly where the ball joint was, but it's pretty darn close, and most of the time this head's going to be inside the big helmet anyway, so should be fine. We're going to go ahead and get this metallic paint on there and then start putting them back together and paint some details. Alright, so I've got the metallic paint on these guys. It's still a little tacky, but one thing I forgot to mention about why I use tape to mask off here as opposed to this liquid mask I've got is previously when I used a liquid mask, if I put it on top of something that I already painted and then when I peeled it off, it would peel the paint up as well. I did use the liquid mask on all of his wheels and they worked pretty well. There's a little bit of spots where I guess I had the liquid too thin, but I can clean that up. Also a little trick on these, if you're going to do one of these, I put a piece of tape and numbered each of the wheels so I know where to put them back on the vehicle in the right spots. So I'm going to let this dry a little bit more and then we'll peel the mask off of that and then we'll reassemble the guy. Alright gang, here's our look at Botcon Ginrai. Got him all painted up, and I gotta say, this is my first leader class sized figure I've done a custom of, and really pleased with the way he turned out. Very surprised at how well the orange covered everything. In the past I've had troubles with yellows and orange where it doesn't want to really cover up or coat anything that was underneath there. But I was using Rust-Oleum spray paint that had a primer and paint in one just to see how well it worked out, and this one worked really well. I had used it for the red and the oranges and on the metallic copper color. This guy I really like the copper. I mean, the metallics are they're nice, they're shiny, not chrome, but they're good and shiny. Didn't do any painting on his weapons, that's just straight up the black plastic on there. But we'll go ahead and spin him around here. One of these days I'm gonna have to get a turntable. But added some secondary red and some silvers across there just to break up all the red and orange. Go ahead and pop this out for a sec. Painted the hands red. On the original figure they were red to offset from the orange. I left the fingertips orange because when you close the fist, it's a real tight fit underneath the thumb, and I figured it wasn't scraping off the orange, but it's very, very, very close. So I opted to not put a layer on the end of his fingertips. So he's just got like fingerless gloves going on there. Repro labels, stickers on his shoulders, and actually back here on the trailer hitch, which will show more of that in vehicle mode. Added bonus here, now that these have been spray painted with the orange on all the panels here for underneath his arms, the guns go in there and stay really, really well. Nice and tight. As you see, there's a little bit of silver and stuff in there just to break up, again, some color. And I am going to bring in, I don't have an exact duplicate of this in the Optimus Prime colors. I've got the Takara version, which is based on the same mold, but they had remolded quite a bit of him and repainted him. But it'll give you an idea of what this guy used to look like. And they look cool together on the shelf. I think they're going to look great. I do have all the God Bomber armor for Optimus there, but I took it off for this video. There he is, side by side. We'll get him back out of there. This space is really tight in here. Articulation is all still the same. He did not lose any from getting all painted. If anything, he ended up being a little tighter on all the joints because of the added paint. I believe there might be a little wear and tear on the elbows going forward. But again, that's always hit or miss whether or not you've sanded off enough of that. Everything else seems pretty good. Looks like I've got a ding in the copper paint there, which is fine. I can mask that off and hit that again with the spray. But let's go ahead and get his little Titan Master out of there. Gonna go real slow so as to try not to scuff off any of the paint. I sanded out the interior of the helmet here to try and limit how much rubbing would happen on the sides of his little partner's arms. And as I said earlier in the video, had trouble with one of the arms where the ball joint had completely popped off and busted off of it. Hold on, let me move the camera in here so we can see that a little better. And let's see, ended up using a sewing pin, cut in a little bit of a hole in both the shell of the body and in the ball, the socket, the ball socket. Pried them to push them together with crazy glue and just let it sit there overnight, and pop the arm back on, and it works pretty good. As you can see, he does still articulate. It's just a little offset on there, but it works out pretty well. And the coloration on this was based on the little Haikyuu figure. Had on the Haikyuu figure, I believe he had orange, had metallic on the back, and then the black boots. But since I really liked the copper color on this guy, I tried bringing that in on him as well. And face worked out pretty well. That was just taped off, masked off there, and spray painted with the gold. You can see right there, scuffed from inside the helmet there, which totally fixable, but that was the first time I put the helmet on there before I had sanded it out enough, and it scuffed him up. But I'm going to get him set aside here, get the camera pulled out, and we will try to transform him. I will say this is going to be really tough transforming him here in view of you guys. If it suddenly skips to vehicle mode, that's because there wasn't enough room to film transforming him here, but we'll give it a shot. is very, very orange. I'll give him that. But as you can see, I did throw more of that metallic copper color here in his grill on the smoke pipes. All of the tires got a little bit of that metallic in the hubcaps or the rims. And on here, the stripe down the middle, the white stripe I masked off with a little bit of tape and had to go back and touch up a little bit with just some white on a brush. From a distance, it doesn't look too bad. Up close, you can kind of see some of the brush strokes. This blue stripe, the red stripe here, which was originally blue on the figure, just painted over that with the red. Over the whole thing got spray painted orange, we'll put it that way, except that white stripe that was masked off, and then I painted the red stripe in because there was enough grooves and ridges to easily paint along that. More repro labels to cover up where the Autobot symbol was, and again you can see more of those silver details that we painted in, and little repro labels Autobot symbol there on the front. Also painted a little bit of the black and white in here because in the original toy of Fire Guts, he had some black on his waist when you had all of the armor attached to him. So I painted that in there so when he's in full when he's in his robot mode, you can see a little bit of that black with the yellow light sticking through some of the metallic grill. Tiny bit of yellow on there, and that's just mirrored across the same side. And let's see, this is going to be super tight, but I can bring in the other Powermaster Prime. Now, this one was, like I said, was not an exact duplicate, because this was the changes that Takara made to him. Made his cab look a little more like his G1 self as opposed to the updated stylized look. But generally the same mold with you can at least see the color scheme that was going on. But you can see these guys sort of side by side. Let's see if we can do this without dropping them on each other. There you go. Close enough. But we'll go ahead and get him out of there. Give me a quick 180, 360. And red and stuff works out well there on the end. And there we go. There's our Fire Guts God Ginrai. Overall, I'm really pleased with him. I think he turned out great. And let me know what you think. Give me a like, subscribe, share the video out there, and follow along on Instagram if you like at tinman_customs. And as always, thank you very much for coming along and checking these out. And I am going to get back to work on my next project.